Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John. Welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity and to keep us positive, we've decided to make this episode a drinking game.
Oh, yeah, we did. We did.
Anytime we say anything negative or sassy or ridiculous or stupid,
We
because
just
this
feel
movie's
like
awesome, because this movie's fun, or we just feel like it, we're going to play this sound. And anytime you hear that sound, that means that we are taking an actual real drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass. We're going to go back to 1991 and talk about Cirque du Soleil presents The Lost Boys on water.
Cheers.
Oh, Jesus.
I have honey whiskey. Don't recommend.
Oh, okay. Where'd you get that?
Jesus.
I got little shooters. I went to the Giants-Jets game in the fucking pouring rain. And a friend brings all the little shooters. Used to own a liquor store. Just tons and tons of these little shooters. And they're always like the flavored ones. You know, the ones that the shooters.
Mm-hmm.
The shooters never have,
Yeah.
they never have Patron. Well, I guess they do. But this is not the free ones that we get. So anyway, I got the fucking honey ones. Guys, we are going to be talking today about 1991, which came up on our random year generator. And the movie we have chosen to highlight is, of course, Point Break.
Now that joke makes
Swayze,
sense.
Keanu, Kathryn Bigelow. Guys, Gary Busey. Metascore is 59, and in our hearts, it's 100. But we're going to be talking about
Right.
Point Break.
59's a bit low for this.
Maybe we'll even do a mini review if you see one in the episode title. If any of us have gone out to the cinema this week to see anything new that we want to shout out, spoiler free. As always, we start spoiler free. We'll give you some spoilers at the end. We'll tell you when that is. We'll give you a rundown of what else was going on in 1991. And then at the end, we're going to tell you what we've been watching and tell you what year we're going to be talking about next week. Guys, John, you want to shout out our sponsors before we get into this?
Sure. We got some sponsors. He was on the show last week, the musician, artist in residence, Dasein, Dasein. You can find all the music available on all the usual music platforms. Go there, stream, enjoy the recent Nescient cycles. Some additions to that massive piece he's working on just got released recently, as he was talking about last week on the show. So check that out. And our beer man, our maker, our brewer in residence, Carlos Barroso, at cbarroso.beer on Instagram if you want to follow him. Support the beer making shenanigans.
And I'm happy to report we've now gone 6 weeks without a copyright violation from our music sponsor.
Good. Yeah. And switched it up for us.
Yeah, that's right. We want to thank Dasein for making that note.
That's right. Play the one piece of music
there.
you didn't make.
That's right. Guys, that's so good. Well, I'm so happy to get into it. So I know, Dave, you have a gripe that you want to get to today, which is relevant to moviegoing and cinema.
It is a little bit.
Any movie reviews we want to get to, too, to hype up for our listeners?
I
I got a
make it
mini
this week.
review.
All right. Let's do
You
mini.
did not go see it?
No.
Jeff, did you see anything?
Not this week. Next week, I'm definitely going, but not this week.
All right, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I'll do mine then, and then you guys can gripe.
Okay.
I went and saw. We were trying to go see Anatomy of a Fall, which won the Palme d'Or
Yeah.
this year, and people are talking about it. It looks great, so I do want to go see that. But we didn't make it in time, or we were not going to make it in time.
Well, you're a
Los
week
Angeles
early because I have a
tonight.
sneaking suspicion that's how you get people to go to the movies with you, to see something else.
No, I mean, honestly, I did. It worked out really well. We were fucked. The traffic was terrible, and I was like, "What about the Holdovers?" And we'd seen some trailers for it. This is the new Alexander Payne film.
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
Giamatti.
Uh-huh.
You guys, it was so lovely and really funny. I had a smile on my face and a warmth in my heart like the whole time. I cannot say it enough. This is a movie that you maybe saw a trailer for it and you thought, I think I know what that is, and I think I've seen Alexander Payne kind of do that kind of thing before, and I've seen Paul Giamatti be there before. It's better than that. It's more touching than that. It's funnier than that. I was really happy to see there was a pretty full audience in my theater. It's just a regular size AMC theater, but it was almost full, and it got a round of applause by the end of it. People,
Wow.
Yeah, it's
People
there's 350
applauded.
people that were late for Anatomy of a Fall.
maybe, but I can't say it enough. I really, really recommend going to see this movie if you're at all interested in that kind of film. They just don't put movies like this in the theater quite as much as they did when we were young, and so it feels like a lovely throwback. But the acting is really great, and get ready to laugh. Paul Giamatti is so funny, and the dialogue coming out of his mouth is so hilarious and well written.
I love Paul Giamatti.
Thumbs up.
He's one of those actors
Please
that
go
does
see it.
exasperation really well.
I mean, yeah, dude, he's just such a curmudgeon. It's so intellectual. It doesn't repeat itself. He has a new funny highbrow name for degenerate children. Like every 2 beats, he says something else like that, and it's funny. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it.
Can you hint what it's about?
Can I hit what it's about? It is about a prep school, boarding school. It's not a boarding school. It's more like a prep school that's supposed to be somewhere in Massachusetts, and the holdovers are because Paul Giamatti kind of gets muscled into being the faculty member who has to stay over Christmas break to watch the children who don't have anywhere to go, the students who, and there are 4 of them initially, and it ends up mostly being about him and one student who end up kind of forming a relationship, and one of the school cooks who she kind of lives there at school too, and her son went to that school at one point. It's set during the Vietnam era, so that's the kind of in the background. And that really is it. It's just about people spending time together who didn't plan on spending time together. And it ends up being about life, just in a really lovely way. No shit. Really, really, really impressive. I can't say it enough. The trailer, I don't think is doing it justice. I think it's just showing you the shallow end of the pool. It's a good movie.
Nice.
Anyway, y'all, I think you're going to agree with me. Go see it.
The Holdovers. Love it. Cool. All right. Yeah, now let's turn this on its head and get some gripes in. Dave, I know you got a big gripe for us here. You want to go for it?
Yeah. I've been living on this for a little bit.
Set that 1 minute gripe timer and go.
Why the fuck does Hulu have every episode of The X-Files, but the 2 movies that are part of the X-Files episode order are on Cinemax? Why the fuck did I just have to rent one of these movies so that I can watch it? Because I don't have fucking Cinemax. Get your fucking licensing together, Hulu. Get all streamers. Just get your fucking licensing together. I'm sick of shit jumping from one place to the other. And it's like, oh, we don't have that this week. So, yeah, you can't watch it this week. Or it's over here this week, but you have to subscribe to that for a week. Like, fucking get your licensing together.
Wow.
Who owns
That's all I have to say about
Warner
that.
Brothers owns the movies and Disney now owns the television show?
I mean, they're on Cinemax.
But isn't that a subsidiary of HBO?
Who the
like Warner
fuck
Brothers?
knows this week?
It was, yeah.
Like, they're selling them so fast. I don't know if that came
What's the name of the movie? X-Files.
Yeah, X-Files Fight the Future. I guess both of them are on Cinemax.
And they're in order, so I mean, I'm sure you could have skipped them, but you didn't want to skip them because.
Well, no, it's like season 5 leads up to the first movie, and then stuff in the first movie is referenced in season 6. So it's basically part of the series.
Right.
Well, can I just say, not about that per se, but this is the first week, and we've all heard these stories, I'm sure, but this actually happened to me this week, where I shared a Dawson's Creek scene that's been going around. It was a snow scene, and they didn't afford snow, so they're just clearly like on white carpet of some kind, or like a white blanket, and it's supposed to be snow, and it looks so bad, and it's getting shared, and it does. That's what it is. And I told a student of mine who's 16, who I really hope doesn't listen to this podcast, and she was like, I saw that too. And I was like, you don't understand. That was a huge hit show. I don't know how they didn't afford snow. Yeah. She was like, it was a huge hit. I was like, yeah. I was like, I feel like that show basically invented the CW, because there were these hit shows on Channel 11, and they were like, let's make Channel 11 CW. I don't know. I was watching WPIX 11, whatever. And I don't even know. I just said that offhand. And she was like, the CW, what is that? And I was like, it's a television show.
Well, yeah,
the
CW, somewhere in the last 3 or 4 years, their audience suddenly turned to like 40 and 50-year-olds. Well, so they've cancelled all of their young programming.
I was like, well, like Flash Arrow or Smallville? She's like, no. I was like, really? And she was like, no. And I was like, Dawson's Creek was on that show for like 11 seasons. She's like, no, it's on Netflix. And I was like, no, it was on the CW. Netflix bought it. And she's like, oh, I guess I thought maybe it was like the producer. And I was like, no, it was the channel. I was like, 11 seasons, like a Netflix. It predates Netflix. Its finale was probably before Netflix. What do you know?
Oh no, Jeff,
no, it's actually happening.
Old.
These kids literally don't understand.
Was that your first time? Yeah, was that your first time? I don't know if I've really had.
It was my first time where a kid
literally.
She doesn't know what a channel is. She doesn't know what a channel is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I was in class the other day with somebody, true story, you guys, and I don't know why I'm surprised, but this really happened. Somebody did not know what a VCR was.
Oh, yeah.
And like how it functioned. I think I'd written something, or somebody had written something about how they put the tape in, and it's like a period piece in the 90s or whatever. And they were like, what is that?
Yeah.
And we were like, it's a VCR, for tapes. And they were like,
it costs you,
and they're in film school.
Like, yeah, you go and you rent your movie, and then it costs you $3 every time you don't use the rewind button.
Like, my grandparents had the rewinder for sure.
I just don't remember growing up and not knowing what a fucking LP was, or a or
I think
old
we were,
function. You know what I mean?
I think
like,
you guys were in that cross
those
generation though, like where that technology came in. But like the rewinder, it's funny you mentioned that. Imagine. How many fucking movies were they watching that they couldn't just rewind the damn tape in their VCR? Like they had to have a separate rewinder. What kind of a marketing machine was releasing those?
It was so fast, dude. Don't you remember? It was way faster than your VCR. That's why you had it. It was like,
but you're not going to watch it and run the tape back. You don't get a discount if you bring it back before midnight.
It's just time, though, dude. My friend's neighbor had one. I would sometimes bring my weekend tapes over there just so I could use it. It rewound the whole fucking thing in like 30 seconds. Honestly, it was unbelievable.
Well, that's bad for the tape.
At one point, we had a VCR that it really did take it like over 5 solid minutes for it to just slowly wind it back. So long.
All right.
I had things to do.
All right, guys. Are you ready?
Speaking of a movie that I definitely saw on tape the first time.
Guys, the human spirit is still alive. All right? Surfing's the source. Change your life. We got to talk about Point Break, but first we got to give it some context, because we chose in our random year generator 1991. Friends, if you're listening, we have done 2 amazing things. A franchise face-off. We went through all the great franchises. One of them, none of them are in 1991. I don't think any of the franchises that we talked about had anything happen in 1991. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But we also did... last year this past summer, we did the summer blockbuster face-off, where we took all of the summer blockbusters from 1980 till 2019 plus Jaws and Star Wars, and we pitted them off against each other to decide what was the greatest summer blockbuster of all time. And a movie from 1991 did very, very well. So I'll say, go back and listen to that episode.
Also, if you're going, hey, it's Halloween, they're not doing a Halloween episode, go back and listen to our Halloween episode from about 3 years ago, and you'll understand why, because we are never fucking doing that again.
Oh my God.
It's 2.5 hours long, so I guarantee you haven't heard all of it.
Jason X at the end, guys. Jason X, you definitely, like, if you only have a couple minutes, skip to Jason X at the end of that episode. But oh my God, what a time.
You can imagine what it got like after 2.5 hours of solid drinking, because the buzzers were flying in that episode.
Well, 1991, guys, what was the highest grossing movie in 1991?
Silence of the Lambs?
No! Silence of the Lambs, no. I just said a summer blockbuster from 1991 did well in our face-off, in our summer blockbuster face-off.
The Rocketeer.
You gotta fucking keep buzzing you dick. Guys, Terminator 2 Judgment Day fucking cleaned house in 1991, and it did very well.
So good.
In our face-off. Did it do too well? Did it do not well enough? Who knows? Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves comes in at number 2. Beauty and the Beast comes in at number 3. And I believe this was the time where everybody was like, uh-oh, the Oscars, we need to create an animated movie win Best Picture. This is the 3rd highest grossing movie of this year. Hook was number 4. And Hook has a low rating on like Rotten Tomatoes. It has a low score on Metascore and all that.
There's some sick
fuck all those
there.
critics. Get the fuck out of here, guys. Yeah. Get out of here. Hook is so goddamn good.
Hook is amazing.
And Maggie Smith has not aged a day in the past 32 years. Silence of the Lambs comes in at number 5, which came out on Valentine's Day. What a beautiful, nice little love story, Silence of the Lambs. Hell yeah. One of the earliest releases ever for a Best Picture winner at the Oscars. Came out before the other fucking ceremony from the year before. Naked Gun 2.5 in there, The Addams Family. Cape Fear, that is the Scorsese De Niro remake. And then Hot Shots. That's your top 10. I'm going to kind of give you just like a little glance over of the shit, because you can go back to our 1991 episode to hear more. But Barton Fink wins the Palme d'Or. Shout out to the Coen brothers and to John Turturro. Acting categories, Jack Palance If you love Billy Crystal, this is the year that Billy Crystal made fucking 50 Jack Palance jokes at the Oscars. Jack Palance won for City Slickers. Mercedes Rule.
Was it this year or the year after he did the one-arm push-up on stage?
I mean, it might have been this year because I think he made the joke like Jack Palance fathered all of the children that they brought on stage. Yes. I forget what that segment is for. Mercedes Rule wins for The Fisher King. That is of course, the Jeff Bridges, Robin Williams film that came out this year in 1991. Some other shit. Juliette Lewis had a big year this year, but of course, the 2 leading acting awards go to The Silence of the Lamb actors. Of course, Silence of the Lamb wins the big 5. Best Picture, won the Writing Award. It won Director, Actor, Actress. I'll let you guys do notable films, but also what happened this year. I'll just say I saw the word dissolution way too much in fucking Wikipedia for the year 1991. The dissolution of the USSR, the dissolution of Yugoslavia, the dissolution of fucking Iraq. So many dissolutions, so much Middle East. Fucking Desert Storm was a nightmare. Yugoslavia was a nightmare. Russia was a nightmare. It was a very, very, very interesting year.
Makes it sound so clean and nice.
Yeah. Freddie Mercury passed away, unfortunately, and Clarence Thomas begins his reign of terror on the Supreme Court 32 years ago. That is how bad it can be when you have a piece of shit on the court.
That's
when they're too young.
That corrupt motherfucker.
Oh, that's what happened this year. Oh, and of course, Rodney King. So not a great year. I don't think this is a great year in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, it's just funny to think about how the 90s, this is the first real year of the 90s, right? Unless you count 90. Do y'all do that? What do you think?
It has a 9 in front of it.
First year of the 90s.
I count it as a 90 because it has a 9. And so if you tell me Ghost came out in the 80s because it came out in 1990, go fuck yourself. I understand that you got to do the 10-year thing, 1 to 10. I get it.
Yeah.
I know that's complicated, but you can't tell me that my eyes are lying to me. You just can't do it.
It is, of course it is. We're over a year into the 90s. But these generation gaps, sometimes they feel like you still kind of feel like it's the 80s if you're in the early 90s. It's just funny to think about all the things that were
just like you kind of feel like you're 30 when you're 48. Like
yeah, exactly. This is still before the movie industry kind of started embracing the indie thing that I think eventually kind of was one of the 2 arms of the success of movies in the 90s. Was there was still a holdover from like the 80s of big studio pictures. They ended up, I think, putting, because of this other, right hand punch of this indie thing that started happening with Tarantino and people like that, where there was a push for prestige. So studio films still stayed big. There were blockbusters, of course, don't get me wrong. We've talked about a lot of them. But a lot of the studio movies ended up having a lot of prestige attached to them as well. They were trying to win awards with a lot of money behind it. The independent films were doing the same thing on much smaller budgets. But this movie is one of those movies that I feel like there is something unique about Point Break and movies like Point Break that came out at this period of time, just because they don't really cleanly fall into either of them. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna talk more about
certainly
it.
Not with that last scene.
Like...
After that last scene, when they cut that, they were like, "Well, we're not winning any awards for this."
Oh, come on. But anyway, I feel like this. Let me just shout out some other notable ones. Keanu Reeves made a bunch of movies this year. We'll talk about that in a little bit later.
Bogus Journey and My Own Private Idaho. Yeah.
This was the one that made him the action god, though. It started.
So cool.
Yeah, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and My Own Private Idaho came out this year. Yeah.
Prince of Thieves, hilarious. No accent. Who cares?
Boys in the Hood was this year. Van Damme had a bunch of movies.
Boys in the Hood was this year. Yeah.
Dave's fucking Drop Dead Fred came out this year. Fucking Dave.
Thelma and Louise, you talked about.
Still love that movie.
And
about Bob.
We got to shout this out. Just because we've joked about it before. Somebody wrote into us. They were mad we didn't talk about this movie in a segment that should never have included this movie. But Fried Green Tomatoes. Fried Green Tomatoes came out this year.
Oh, so, cool.
Sarah.
Now let's not talk about it again.
Yeah, we're never talking about it.
My Girl also came out this year. Maybe that should have been in one of our face-offs. Yeah.
Yeah. Movies with the happiest ending ever.
Ernest Scared Stupid came out this year. I was at a Halloween party last night, and somebody came as Ernest, and I gave him a high five. And
Yep.
we talked
Toy
about
Soldier, Slacker. So Linklater's on the scene. Guys, I didn't see. New York had a weird because it was 80 degrees on Saturday, the Saturday before Halloween, and then today was fucking pouring rain. But I really didn't see a lot of costumes out and about. I feel like New York is.
Really?
I feel like Halloween is like dying a slow death in New York. Dave, do you disagree?
Really?
Yeah, I was on the subway after my show that finished at like 10:30 last night. Trust me, they're out there.
All right. Well, maybe they just waited until 10:30. But I was around. I was at South Street Seaport. Oh, I saw Peter Dinklage outside of the Beacon Theater last night, and I'll just say he looks very unapproachable. He did not want to be recognized. It didn't seem.
Probably difficult for him.
Standing next to a poster of himself, but yeah.
Very interesting. Still has that beard.
Was anybody else really confused and still gets confused that the Addams Family 1991 is not directed by Tim Burton?
Yeah, confused the hell out of me.
Maybe that's why he did Wednesday. He did Wednesday because he was like, these motherfuckers, I might as well have directed it. You know what I mean?
So weird, so confusing.
Who was it?
All right,
Who was
let's fucking go.
Actually,
for it.
just before we went up,
Really?
I
Fucking
was,
Seinfeld, Rain Man.
before we started this show, I was watching the trailer for Beetlejuice 2 as well. They just dropped it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hope they make a
Nice.
better trailer.
Wow.
Barry Sonnenfeld is Men in Black, and who did Rain Man? That was the father of the guy who created Euphoria.
Oh, Barry Levinson. Dave, can we cut this out? Dave's our producer, everybody.
You want to cut out the bit where we can't remember anyone's names? That's
Where
that's
I
our
sound
bread and
dumb.
butter.
Doing trivia.
Or I sound
don't even
dumb.
know if anything we said is correct just now. What movie are we talking about?
Guys, we are talking about Point Break. Point Break. A movie where we just have to shout out. We got to pour one out for the surfing double who gave his life to get that last shot of the movie. God, if there really was somebody riding that wave, that person is long gone. And you know what? They got a really good shot in the movie. And so I hope their family is well paid.
It was off the coast of Oregon. It wasn't that big a wave.
What? Well, then Kathryn Bigelow is the best director of all time because I saw the movie White Squall and this fucking wave was bigger than that. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be straight up. I have never seen this movie all the way through until this weekend. And the reason is, and this is just how it goes, this is in the Cable Movie Hall of Fame where it was on all the time. So you start watching it halfway because you see Keanu in a bank robbery scene. Or you see John C. McGinley, the guy from Scrubs, fucking saying some of the most iconic lines I've ever heard in any movie of all time. Lines I've heard other people say, and I was like, I didn't even realize that came from this movie. I have to keep watching. You see Gary Busey in a scene with Keanu Reeves, and it just makes... It's almost like the Johnny Depp, like Al Pacino scenes. It's like almost all of these greats. It's like, no, Busey and Keanu did it the best. They are the best buddy cop, senior, junior like version of all time with the fucking shit they did off the fucking waves. Come on. But you know why this movie's good, guys? It just makes sense.
Why?
It just makes sense.
It makes sense.
When something makes sense that shouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
What if the bank robbers are surfers? That sounds stupid. Why? Think about this. What do surfers do all day? How do they afford their house? How do they pay? What if they rob banks and then they can just surf for the rest of their life? Oh, and what if they have a vision and a purpose for society too? That's a movie. I mean, it's that simple, guys. That's a fucking movie. That's it. That's all I need. That's all I need. Start with the FBI and then just put them off to the side. It's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you
So you're starting. You liked it. No, you liked it. Keep going.
Do I even need to do the IMDb description of this movie? An FBI agent, Keanu Reeves, goes underground to catch a gang of surfers who may be bank robbers. I think that's the only thing about this movie is that the suspension of disbelief, the thing that is required is you have to know that Patrick Swayze is the bank robber. Because for a while, there's all this FBI stuff, and then out of nowhere, it's basically the Karate Kid, where Keanu Reeves becomes a surfer. He has never surfed before. He basically has a foam board. And then all of a sudden they're waking him up at 5 a.m. to go ride the biggest waves of the season. Like, you just have to go through that and you have to yada yada that. And the only way this works is if Patrick Swayze's, you know he's Reagan or Dick. You know he's one of them. He's probably Reagan. You know it. That's the only way this works. Even when the raid happens, they're raiding the house and it's like the other group. But
I think you knew it when it came out too. They market this movie.
Yeah.
with him knowing it. So there's no way you don't know it. So it is one of those where you're having fun waiting for Keanu to figure it out.
But it's funny.
40 minutes.
I mean,
he figures it out in like 46.
Even the opening montage, it's just surfing, and it's beautiful. It's awesome. They're shameless. They're just like surfing, but looks like 1991. It probably looks so good on VHS. It just looks like 1991 surfing. And then Keanu is doing his John Wick training. He's doing it, but in 1991, and it's pouring rain there. And so nice, beautiful surfing weather. Keanu Reeves in the water shooting some fucking cardboard. Beautiful surfing montage. Guy hitting a tube. And then you have Keanu Reeves rolling in the mud, shooting some cardboard. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And you're like, okay, I just need the setup because we know what's going on. Keanu's going to surf.
This is how movies in the 90s started. It started with a nice, relaxing scene and then just plunged you into something.
I think the preface of this is great. Dude. And all the stuff we did, knowing that T2 came out this year, 1991, the Rodney King thing happened this year. But LA has always been huge. Hollywood has always been huge. But this is a culture of LA. You know, the Sean Penn, Nick Cage culture of LA that everybody cared so much. The Malibu culture, what's going on in the streets. Boys in the Hood came out this year, right? People wanted to know more about this city. The two is like, I know this wasn't number 2 in the box office, but in the grand scheme of things, this is way up there. This was the time for LA. You know, go to the reservoir, show people all over the world, just have a fucking chase scene in the reservoir. People are shooting guns in the reservoirs if that happens all the time. Like, this is the time for LA to be alive. I just thought it was like the timing of this movie was probably perfect.
That's the thing, because by the time they hit the 90s, they're like, fuck, which bits of LA haven't we shot? We need something new.
Of course. I can't believe Ghost was the number 1 movie of the year.
They finally got access to the reservoirs, and then they used them all the time.
Who has to go next? But this is the first time I'd seen it all the way through, and I had such a fucking fun time. The Rotten Tomatoes score is higher than the Metacritic score, so I'm sorry I led with that. But it has mediocre reviews, and it's like, get the fuck out of here. This movie's just so right for the time. It's just so right for it. John C. McGinley's lines are so good. Wait, last thing I'll say, Dave. Last thing I'll say. In the first 5 minutes of this movie, and again, we know now in the future, we're going to leave the FBI. We're going to leave it. But it starts out with all FBI. And in the first 5 minutes, you have a couple of these lines. Let's get a couple of good ones. Sir, I take the skin off of chicken.
That's my favorite line in the whole film.
You're young, dumb, and full of cum. I guess we got an asshole shortage. Welcome to SeaWorld, kid. LA's changed a lot in 22 years. The air got dirty, the sex got clean. That's in the first 5 minutes. You just fucking rapid fire these lines. I mean, that is unbelievable.
Well, the asshole shortage one was sets Keanu up to be likable as well in the first 5 minutes of it, because his response is gold. And the fact that he's just stolen a donut, and he's like, I love these. And he's like, yeah, well, maybe you got sent out of here because we have an asshole shortage. And he says something along the lines of, doesn't seem so, under his breath as the guy walks off. You straight away, because that guy's such a dick, you're like, yeah, I like him. He's cool. And it kind of endears you to that character as he goes down the path he goes down. But yeah, John, what do you think of this?
Oh, you're kicking it over to me? What'd you think? You're just throwing it out.
I thought it was fucking great. I always think this is great. Dude, no one but Swayze could have played this role. And I will fight that to my dying day, because not only did he do his own surfing, it's also because Swayze is Swayze, and they proved it in 2015 when they tried to remake this, and it was a piece of shit. So,
David.
No, this movie is. They should never have touched it. It's iconic, and Swayze is at his best. Laurie Petty's at her best. Yeah. Keanu's just about to start becoming an action god. You got him up against Gary Busey. There's gold here. It's just everything in this film works. It's edited fantastically. Yeah, this is a really good one.
Laurie Petty follows this up. This is 1991 with League of Their Own in 92, Free Willy in 93, Tank Girl in 95. I mean, she just, what a early 90s.
Yeah, Laurie Petty hit her stride around here and just hasn't stopped since.
Yeah. Good role in
she's
Station
still
11,
kicking around,
series too,
doing
recently.
great.
Yeah, Station 11, she was great.
Nice.
All right, John.
Watch that. Yeah, man, this is such a good one. This is one that, like you, Jeff, I think when I was growing up, I made the joke about the tape, but I think I mostly just saw this in bits and pieces when I was a kid. And I don't think I really sat down and watched it with intention until maybe 7 or 8 years ago, like for the first time. And I mean, I've seen it. This is probably my second or third time seeing it since then. It's just, I think you guys know, like I fell really hard for the Fast and Furious movies at some point around that time. So I'm sure I rewatched this then too, just because they are so bound to each other in terms of plot. And this one is just everything you're saying. Like there is magic there. There's so much about this that really does work. And I don't think we can give more credit to anyone other than Kathryn Bigelow.
Yeah.
This woman was directing this first time, first Academy Award winner who doesn't have a penis for Hurt Locker. But she had 2 main features under her belt by the time she made this. Is that correct?
I actually
speaking out of turn here.
I didn't realize it was a Kathryn Bigelow film until this rewatch. I had no idea.
Really?
Up until this point, yeah. I just loved it.
So she made one feature,
Blue Steel,
small, super low budget feature right out of Columbia. Willem Dafoe is in it, and then she made Near Dark in 1987, which is her first one that we all probably have heard of. I think a lot of people did not see that, but it's a vampire film, another Willem Dafoe. I've
seen Near Dark.
Then she makes
Dave's laughing.
Yeah, and then she makes a Blue Steel, which is like a cop thriller with Halloween. What's her name, you guys? Help me out.
Jamie Lee
Curtis. And then this. So, she was ascending. And it's great. I love when you can kind of watch that. Like this person came out of
I didn't realize
school.
I've seen all of her films.
Yeah.
Dave, number 1 fan.
And then she just... But I mean, come on, like there's, I don't want to get into like the gender of it all. I think a lot of people talk about Kathryn Bigelow as a woman who really doesn't make movies aimed at women. She is attracted to a testosterone-driven, adrenaline-driven film.
True.
She's got a lot of war films under her belt.
Yeah.
And I think that is her sensibility. Again, Near Dark was a bloody vampire film, male-driven. Not that there are female characters that are given spotlight in her movies by any means. They're there for sure. But she tends to lean in a male-centric direction with protagonists and subject matter. And if anybody questioned how or why, I mean, this movie is the epitome of that, right? It's like a quintessential testosterone, adrenaline, men at the center, crime, fighting, violence, sexy women on a beach. Like it's just like all these ingredients are there, and she somehow manages it to make every single piece of it work, as you said. And that's probably the best word for it. None of it feels really, even though it is of the times, the 90s, none of it feels like it isn't serving the movie. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily feel like it's serving the time. Like you're having a blast watching it because it is a 90s throwback.
Maybe one or two of the nude shots during the raid scene,
I don't know, man. That ended up being funny when that chick got out of the shower and started fighting him and stabbing him. Like there was, maybe that initial shot, you're like, okay, come on, hot naked silhouette. But then that woman fucking kicks ass and stabs him and shit.
True.
I feel like there was kind of a payoff.
And also, she's probably sitting there going like, look, people want this. Let's turn it on its head. They want naked chicks in these kinds of scenes. What if the naked chicks fucking stabbing people?
But like there's 2 women in the house. One's in a G-string and the rest of her underwear, and the other one's completely naked.
Now, even though you don't see, even though you don't see penis, because this is 1991. This is the kind of movie that if it wasn't made in 1991, it would have showed cock. You see a lot of guys. You just don't see cock because it was 1991. And at the time, you couldn't do that. But this is the kind of movie that if you could have shown cock, they would have shown cock.
You almost see Keanu cock at one point.
You almost see a lot of them, I'm sure.
That's true. Yeah. Those guys definitely had those women naked in the reality of that situation. Those 4 dudes that they raid on.
Yeah.
So, so I just want to give it up to her so much. Everybody talks about it. Dave, you mentioned it, but I think it's 1000% true. And they followed this equation with Vin Diesel in the Fast movies. Like, you have got to have a antagonist with so much heart and charisma that you just want to do exactly what your protagonist is doing. You just want to root for them.
Yeah.
And go have fun and join the crew and be a part of it and question all your desires.
I mean, to bring it back to Fast and Furious, that's why the last one worked, because Momoa was that character in that film.
He had a blast, dude. He had a blast.
And you could
this
tell.
was the first time I watched Point Break, and spoiler alert, but we're here. You should have seen it by now.
Yeah, Jeff blew the ending in like the first 5 minutes of the show.
God, the ending's so good. This is the first time I watched it where literally the very last shot, I wonder if that was on this page initially for him to toss the badge. I wonder if that was the first time. If it kind of looked to me like
none of that was
like,
on the page originally. They shot that 6 months later.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
both their hair had changed because they'd moved on to other films.
Either way, I wonder if the conception of him quitting the force, quitting the agency, I guess rather, was in there from the beginning, or if it was supposed to be a good guy trying to just an undercover story versus an undercover story who ends up becoming, believing in the ideology of the guy he's chasing.
I want to say I feel like there was a very long discussion that happened over that particular moment when they were doing the coda, like when they were like, we're going to shoot this and he's going to let him go. And does he have a moment of realization there where it's like, this career is not for me? Like, I am obviously this guy has too much influence over me. I'm disregarding every aspect of what this badge means. I need to throw it away.
And this is right.
It's just such a strong choice.
Yeah.
Such a strong choice. I feel like it's the first, maybe there are other movies that do this with that kind of regard, but with this specific dynamic that, again, we've just seen taken to new heights with the franchise. I feel like this was such a big choice. It opened up a whole new dynamic of audience that might be attracted to it. It makes you feel different about looking back on how you rooted for maybe whether you felt some conflict for the bad guys. I don't know.
Well, this is during LA Law's reign, and television matters. You can't make movies without TV. So even though movies felt like the inferior art form in this situation where TV was for the scrubs or whatever, even though most people on TV were making more money with the very slight exceptions of people like Keanu and Swayze and etc. LA Law is happening this whole time as well, and it's a huge hit. NYPD Blue is going to come out in a second, so it's a fine line because do you root for lawyers, cops, mobsters? Like crime is a huge thing in this time period, and I wonder if throwing the badge, and the reason they were maybe not afraid to do it at first, but they did it later, but to just sit there and be like, well, we don't need the FBI is obviously incorrect, but and I think they even made lines about it, about like what people in the FBI actually do as opposed to like become surfers, but like Keanu did everything right. And in the way, like, yeah, it seems a little ridiculous in hindsight now that we've seen more FBI footage, things and such, that like 2 weeks and they're like, why haven't you found them yet? And it's like, guys, this guy's been undercover with the drug gang for fucking years, but the surfer guy, in 2 weeks is supposed to break things. So obviously there's some movie magic stuff going on.
I can't remember his name, but the guy who advised them on the FBI procedure got mocked by his peers for so long because this is known as like one of the worst representations of the FBI ever.
Right.
Of course.
But it is. It's all fictionalized. Let's point and just quickly, did you see it, John? Have my drugs kicked in, or did a cartoon hand pop up in Jeff's image while he was talking?
What did I do?
I don't know.
Do it again? Sometimes you have like weird things pop up on your screen.
This is a good time to mention that we have a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, look at that. What the hell is that? And can we turn it off?
What do you mean? Is it going right to YouTube? Because that would be really fun.
That will.
Oh my god.
Yes. That will.
Wow, is this for your voice lessons?
You shut the fuck up, man. This happens to everybody. This is the new Zoom thing. Go ahead, put 2 thumbs up and let's see what happens. This is an audio format. It didn't.
I got nothing.
It didn't do it. Yeah, it didn't do it.
All right, guys.
That's just your special thing.
Give us clicks on YouTube, people.
Let's clarify. We're talking about this movie with a giant nod to silly, big action movie making. This is not realism. That's part of why I think it's so much fun. Yeah. Is that it's not.
Well, that Keanu lets him ride the wave out without just taking him in. You mean that wouldn't happen in the FBI, where they would say like, yeah, he's fine.
I don't know, might if you throw any badge away.
It's the same argument that I always have for Fast and Furious. This movie knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to be something that it isn't. It's not trying to be an accurate FBI, authentic reflection of what they actually do. I think one of the more authentic films in the scene actually kind of stands out, and you start to think about like the silliness of this movie, and it almost like teaches you like, of course this is ridiculous. After the raid, that dude who's like was undercover legitimately for the DEA, he comes in there and screams at him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that scene kind of does feel like.
That was a little
real,
in
a sense.
And that was
and
great.
Then we go back and we're surfing like.
That was their moment of
very...
failure. It was very well placed too. Like that's one of the other things. This thing is well written structurally, and it's very well edited.
This is all right. I think this is it. This is why I think people love this movie so much. I think I just hit it, and I feel the same way about Fast and Furious. It's not just an undercover crime action story. It's a romance. It's about this man falling in love with another man,
with Patrick Swayze.
He's with Patrick Swayze,
it's
with this idea of changing his life and finding like some new version of his life. That monologue that he gives her, that's bullshit, when he's giving it to her about his parents dying and realizing he wasn't living for himself. It's that this movie works because it ends up being true. Like, he is not living who he wants to be yet. And as soon as he declares those words, we're just hoping, and we know it's going to happen because it's a very Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
You're like, I cannot wait to watch him realize that he actually does want to be this person. Like, that is so romantic.
Well, and
there's something so accessible about it.
You talked about both the writing and the editing, and they kind of go hand in hand, especially with the writing, because I imagine, by the way, Patrick Swayze's moment, all of the moments with the relationship, the love triangle, is so well done, and it's so deep in a way that like very few movies play the love triangle, where the guy clearly still has a connection to this person, but also understands the way life works and moves on. And it's really, really interesting when he sees her with obviously having slept with him, and he goes like, come on, we're going to go catch some waves. But just with his look, you get all the backstory and everything, but the texture of, because we know they're robbing banks and they're not taking the vault. And it's partly, and it's pitched as a practicality thing. It's a time thing. They don't want to go, even though the vault could double, triple the amount of money that they make, they just want the money from because they're not taking a lot of money because they're smart and it's clever, and it's better to rob 10 banks and not to do the vault than one with the vault, which is too risky because they're more likely to get caught. But then later, in the monologue, you basically realize, well, two things. Number one, it's because they just want to surf. They don't want to become millionaires. They basically just want to be able to surf.
They're just finding their endless summer.
So then it's a big risk, in my opinion, to say, well, they also have a philosophical reason for robbing banks, which it goes to like hell and high water, where it's like, fuck the patriarchy, fuck the system, fuck the bureaucracy. Again, 1991, Yugoslavia, the wars, Bush after Reagan. It's like, fuck what's happening in the world. And the fact that Patrick Swayze wanted people to root for them, right? That kind of goes back to Bonnie and Clyde that we talked about recently. They almost want the everyman to sit there and be like, they have it made. That's right. Fuck the system. We should all be so lucky. Well, they have it figured out.
Like, this did make me think.
The right texture.
This did make me think as well. Like, how is the bank robber business doing now? They're closing branches everywhere. Like, are they doing okay?
Yeah, I'm not going to buzz that because it's true. But my point is that they could have overdone it. They could have over philosophized that. They could have made it like, well, we're good. And they didn't do that. They just let it. They know they're doing wrong. They know that. But it's like, it just adds enough of a complication for Keanu to be questioning this. So you're always in the murky middle. It sits him
right in that Robin Hood niche.
Which is, it's interesting that they chose surfing initially. Whoever is credited with this screenplay, we should probably
somebody who lives in Los Angeles, I bet.
I mean, it could have been in Australia too. Surf culture is everywhere, dude.
Yes, Australia. Yes, Hawaii. But no, somebody who wrote the script lives in Los Angeles for a couple of years. Saw their friends going to Malibu every day. Like, no, I got to work, people. And they're like, nah, work tomorrow. And it's like, how do these people get away with that? I know.
It's W. Peter Iliff, I think, and Rick King. So anyway, by choosing surfing, I think they did themselves a huge favor with that, because everyone kind of knows that there is a philosophy, a spirituality, the oneness with the wave. It's kind of baked into that character. So what a great way for them to use that. It really only gets declared in a moment of heightened conflict between the group of ex-presidents when they're thinking about quitting. When they realize it, and Patrick's around the fire, and he only really has that one little speech about it, and they never really have to go there again because people understand what that's about. It was a taller order with street racing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had to kind of, I didn't know anything about that world. I didn't know there was a Zen I figured there was an anti the man, but so I feel like this one was just like, and language wise, like you said, Jeff, from the very beginning, there's something, the contrast they create between the blissful ride that Patrick Swayze's silhouette is going on in the opening credits, contrasted with Keanu's in the dark, in the rain, working his butt off. Just they immediately go ahead and establish that there is something ascendant and in the sun approaching the light about surfing. So again, hats off to Kathryn.
Yeah,
she did some of that work with herself
also,
visually.
at this point, they've established he's second in his class. He's he's a whiz with the gun. So this is a guy who's good at everything.
100%.
And I love
the gun.
And I love that they take up he went the first wave he tries to catch, he gets dumped and rolled to the point where someone has to pull him out of the water and save him. And that's a real thing. You get dumped and rolled, you don't know which way is fucking up. You're just sitting under the water.
It's a beautiful scene.
The ADR in that scene. The ADR in that scene is so great.
The ADR in this whole movie is, for the most part, pretty impressive.
I mean,
it's
pretty much anything at the beach.
It's everything.
Because if it's not the waves, it's with the wind.
Did you guys hear about? Did you catch when Keanu's like, I think it's back there at Patrick's Roadhouse? Did you hear when he refers to?
I did not. I missed that completely.
It's like a mile marker, and they talks about Patrick's Roadhouse, and he says it.
Oh no, I missed it. I think.
Pretty good. All right, let's talk about the man, Gary Busey.
He's fucking.
How good is he?
Incredible.
He's so alive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so kinetic, respondent, and I think one of the best examples of this is when you see actors playing a role in a movie where they have to act.
Yeah.
When Keanu and Patrick are first fighting up those bullies who they end up doing the raid on. Bullies. Is that the right word?
Yeah, the bullies who are going to kill him with a knife. The bullies. Yeah.
And here comes Gary Busey going after his partner, just thinking, fuck, I got to go save him. He turns that corner. This is a coming to the door exercise, a classic acting exercise. And he needs to flip just like that. He's so... In less than a second, he appears coming running from the highway, runs into who he's not supposed to be seeing, his partner Keanu and Bodhi, and he's just like, "Did you guys see that?" I mean, immediately, it was fantastic.
It was
I believed it. I fucking bought that he was capable of that, and all the way through, I had forgotten the tragedy of his death, dude. I forgot how good that was. They lit Keanu's another ADR, his scream, no. They let that thing ring out so long. They were like, let's do 3 more seconds. This is really sad that Gary Busey's dead now.
Oh yeah. God,
it's so fun.
The way he did the raid as well is basically like, of course he said Fido, right? Fido. What was the name of the dog? Was it Fido?
Oh, I can't remember. God, he's so good. Yeah. He comes around that corner, tucking his wire in. He's already. And
then he knocks on the way he knocks on the. I mean, it is like, it's so believable. Like, I can't believe they were going to close the door on him. He was so good at that.
I feel. What happened? Did he have a head injury, or did something happen to him that Gary Busey?
Between Point Break and Entourage, you mean, when he became the caricature of himself?
Yeah, I thought something happened to him. Either way, really, really tragic. I don't know I don't know what happened, but man, he was so alive. Every time he pops up in those 80s and 90s movies, it's just a gift for supporting roles like that. We're talking about, there's so many good lines out of the Scrubs, dude. On the page, that's funny. But I mean, these performances they're just so well cast. The ex-presidents, I mean, the way she stages that opening bank robbing scene, it sets up like the dynamic of their group so well. They're just having so much fun, yet they're still so incredibly efficient. And I think there is something to be said about the drama of this movie being as successful as it is, despite the fact that we're all watching an action movie and we're very aware of it. One of the best foot chase scenes ever.
Oh, yeah.
That ends on a magnificent close-up of Patrick Swayze and the Reagan mask.
Yeah.
It should be a silly shot. And they punch in like 3 fucking times until you see those hazel eyes. And you're just
the
like,
intensity coming out from under that mask is
so dramatic, dude. So beautiful. It's beautiful. It's emotional. And I mean, Johnny Utah firing into the air. Like
famous scene. He's so famous when he fires into the air.
While we're talking about cinematography, there was one scene that did irk me a little. And that's when they're walking just after the incident at the beach and they're walking back to the car. Because whoever was on follow focus was focusing to the car, using the car as a reference point for the focus. And I'm not sure if it was because of lens structure or what, but both of them were out of focus for almost the entire length of the shot. And I'm just if you're doing a 20-second shot, just like reshoot it if it's out of focus.
They had the wrong first AC that day. It's a substitute.
One cool thing about the car scene though is that when the ex-presidents get a new car, it means that the FBI agents can shoot out the rear windshield.
Yeah,
again.
first thing to go.
It's like, how good is it in a chasing movies? You don't shoot anybody or the tires. You shoot that rear windshield. They get a new car. You get to do it again in the same sequence. It's awesome.
Yeah, I did love the cinematography in this though, because like
the gasoline.
Yeah, like all of the cinematography in this, apart from that one shot, which I was like, you know what, fine, everybody gets one. Everything was fantastic. Like it has everything. They've got like water photography. There's action photography. At one point, that chase scene that you mentioned, they're running through a house with the camera. Then there's aerial photography, and I have a lot of respect for jump camera operators because it is it's very, very hard to frame a shot and shit your pants at the same time.
Dave, this guy shot a bunch of great shit. His name is Donald Peterman. He did Men in Black, Get Shorty.
That makes sense.
Flashdance.
Oh, Jesus. That's a body of work.
A whole bunch of one of those.
I've seen his whole body of work as well.
That just he's just existed in Hollywood.
Yeah,
probably just a hired gun, and this guy can just fucking bring it. I loved the handheld shots when they're running in that tight alley.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they kind of start to float.
That is really fucking hard to do.
Guys, Reagan threw a dog at Keanu. I mean, you got to get a good cinematographer to do it. He threw a dog at him.
That was so funny. All right, so I do want to bring up what I think is, it might not be the only one, but for me it's not a plot hole, but I want to know if you guys are thinking what I'm thinking about it. If there was an implication to it that I don't think that is ever talked about and they were just hoping the audience, we can trust them. Why do they choose to go into the vault that one time?
Yeah.
Why would he do that?
Good question. Well, he was obviously spiraling.
So without him doing that, he's spiraling, but without him doing that, theoretically, they would have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
And I think they would have left Keanu there and he would have gotten arrested and they would have been on their merry way. So every time I get to that part in the movie, I'm always like, I don't know if they earned this 1,000%. We might just be given a little grace there. And I sometimes wonder when I'm watching this, are we supposed to think that now Patrick realizes I can't do this again, so I need to steal more now? Because we're not going to be able to keep doing this.
That definitely is on the table.
I think it's definitely the case because he even makes a point of saying, like, we've done this 30 times and they can't touch us. And then suddenly they get caught and someone gets shot. And, like, it's...
I think one thing that clouds the water for me a little bit there, and I'm not mad at them. I love the ending that, Dave, you said that they ended up tagging on. I think it's a great scene, a great death, great catharsis for everybody. But because of that ending coda, their wonderful scene, just a couple of lines long, a lot of white space on the page.
You got to go really down.
He's like, I missed you a week in Fiji, and then I missed you in blah, blah, blah. And they're making him seem like he's alive and moving through the world and unattainable and a criminal on the run, like successfully.
Yeah.
I think because of that, it does kind of make you think, like, he just seems like he would be able to earn money other ways. He would be able to steal another way. They did such a good job of mythologizing his ability.
But the thing is, the way he knew how to do it relied on having other people around him, and he lost his whole crew.
Yeah. But what I think, here we go. This might be another.
Was it him that put the knife in that last member in Mexico?
He doesn't need a lot of money, though. So they don't need a lot to so he could have done something.
This might be a fun, like, equation thing. This might be a fun equation thing when you're making Hollywood movies like that, though, where, like, there's a certain level of expectation. I'm not saying we don't want our stories to work. They're the best when they work and when they're justified. But if he had not done that and gone to the vault, the scene that follows, the sequence is so dramatic and heightens the stakes so much when that off-duty cop draws his gun, that if they had not had some reason to get to that place, then there would be no aftermath, and the stakes would have been much, much lower as they were trying to just get, back to Tyler and trying to get to Mexico. If everybody had not gotten shot, I mean, that shootout is emotional dude. That is emotional, especially the first
not
shot
only
fired.
shot, like Keanu's arrested.
I love that.
Like he's arrested at that point. So
that punch out by Gary is fantastic. Yeah. Out cold. Scrubs dude is on the floor, blackout. It's so funny. Anyway,
I think
point break, you guys.
Point break.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
What
the
a
ride is
film.
over, you know? Why don't you astonish me, shitface? I've been in the bureau since you were still popping zits and jerking off to the lingerie section of the Sears catalog.
Sears catalog. That's such a... he definitely had a few. I've been in this agency. What did he had another one to Keanu? He had said that to him at the beginning. Man, they don't make them like they used to, guys.
There's something about this.
Yeah.
We're gonna be meat waffles.
Guys,
I mean, what movie can say something like "we're gonna be meat waffles"?
We say that as well about
awesome.
Like when we watched Roadhouse, we said that again, and I think it's just something about Swayze.
I mean,
and you've got Swayze and Busey in the same film, and then you throw in an up and coming action star like Keanu. It's like you can't miss.
There's too
much.
much.
I just love
because no matter what group you're with, there's an absolute live wire in it that's like owning their scenes and doing great work. So even like,
don't you think it's great? Don't you think it's great that and Fast and Furious stole it from them for sure and used it very well? But I think a lesser director, producer, script would have split the focus of this film between Swayze and Keanu Reeves, and they would have like tried to establish a point of view through Patrick Swayze, and they don't do that.
No.
And I think that's why it's so charming, and he's so... There's something, it's cool and sexy.
Well, that's the thing. He bounces
and
between
fun.
spheres of influence. It's like you've got Busey influencing in one way because he wants to capture these bank robbers, and he ends up getting a big argument on the hill about, you feel alive now? Do you want to go and get these guys?
Screamy.
Yeah. And everyone else is just standing in the background like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Yeah.
God, these guys are yelling.
But then you've got the sphere of influence of Swayze where he's like, come to the dark side, come to the dark side. Doesn't realize he's saying that, but like he's bouncing between his two worlds, and each one of them has an actor doing a really commanding performance opposite him. And I think that's why this works so well.
I think so too. And also,
they also don't even bother to try to say... They don't even bother to try to justify any kind of like physical reason or tangible reason why Swayze and his crew would need to do this. Like, they're white, they're men.
Yeah,
they could be living.
Yeah.
And you never see the money. We know they can afford. By the way, what did this do more for? The FBI, surfing, or skydiving? Because I feel like a lot of people went skydiving after seeing this movie. So other than them having like the money to basically like have a plane and have pilots like ready to fly and stuff, you never see the money too, which I think is cool. Not because they don't have it, not because they're not stealing enough, but back to your point about like I'm watching a different show that I'll talk about in a second where there's like $500,000 in a bag. This is a time period where $500,000 in a bag, Patrick Swayze could live the rest of his life in Brazil surfing there with $500,000 in American money. So why doesn't he go there? These are all good questions. Is he fucking with Keanu? Is he giving him more pressure because they're going to the vault? Because he wants the heat on Keanu and he's sacrificing, he's risking his own. It's fascinating, and a TV series would probably try to give both perspectives, like the Halo treatment. And because it's a movie, it knows exactly what it is. I think that's what it comes down to. It knows exactly what it is.
Dave, how bad were the Australian accents on the beach in Portland?
Yeah, they were pretty fucking bad.
You let him get away?
They were pretty fucking bad.
What's the other line? You let him get away? There's somebody else.
We'll get him when he comes back. They were South African
back.
almost.
Yeah. They're back.
He's not coming back.
Oh man, that was really funny. Beautiful. I mean, I get, I joke all the time in school about how like I just
because
I hate ADR.
Yeah.
Every time I can avoid it as a filmmaker, I try to. But this kind of movie just reminds me that, like, you know what? If you have the money and you don't mind just committing to it, we're doing this in post. God, those shots in the rain. That was fucking beautiful. I mean, that was just, there's just no way around it. Like, all the shots on the water, in the rain.
Have you seen that? Well,
that fucking, when they land in the skydiving sequence when they get back to Tyler and
yeah.
the dust is blowing all over them, and it's fucking beautiful.
Have you seen the behind the scenes thing where they're both him and Keanu and Patrick Swayze are sitting in a hot tub in full costume because they're about to go and film the rain scene again?
No.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, so they put him in a hot tub in between so they didn't get cold.
That's fucking awesome.
It's so
I mean,
good.
I just can't. It's fun. All the story beats we're talking about, like I would enjoy them in a lesser made film still. I know I would because it's that well written and it's fun and the performances are great. But the expression that she brought to like the way that the filmmaking of it, I think it surprised everybody. And how beautiful it was and how expressive it was.
Also,
and
there's
how moving the imagery is.
One fantastic misdirect in this where because basically as Keanu realizes that it's them and he pulls up knowing that they're going to rob this bank, they then inversely realize it's him because he's shouting FBI. So then you've got this what's going to happen when they find out, and the jump sequence happens straight after that. There's a parachute jump sequence, and what a fantastic misdirect because they're all fucking with his parachute and you're like, they're going to give him the parachute that doesn't fucking open, and it's just this wonderful tension building misdirect that then you're already tense by the time you get into what does happen after that. And I think that's why that tense scene after that works well, because you're already halfway there from this jump.
Guys, how tight did your butthole get? Every time he jumps out without a chute?
Yeah.
Every time that happens, I'm always just like, oh my God. Again, there's enough realism to this reality, even though it's a Hollywood movie, that still seems insane and like fucking bad.
It is insane. Are you fucking
I know you
kidding?
want me so bad. It's like you got acid in your mouth and you can't, or whatever the line, what Swayze says. And then,
dude, I'd be like,
jumps without a chute.
I'd be standing there holding the plane door for dear life going, well, guess he got away. Bitch is dead. Cool. I'm riding this to the ground.
I think.
But he jumps without a chute and then throws his badge away. The fact that they pull that off, he is willing to jump without a chute to bring this guy down. And then basically because of the way this whole case went down, he was like, fuck this. This isn't the life for me. Like, how do they pull that off? How do they do it?
Unbelievable. It's so much fun.
That's Swayze.
Anyone
You
who
gotta
has
pull
not
it.
watched this movie, go enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Watch it. It is so enjoyable. Every time I see it, I'm just I'm so glad that Fast and Furious picked it up. It's too good of a story. They could have made a couple sequels. I would have followed Johnny Utah into a new life and watched him end up doing different shit. But man, thank you, team.
I hope W. Peter Iliff, who co-wrote this movie and also wrote the brilliant movies Varsity Blues, the TV series, the movie, and the TV series. He also wrote the TV series Tales from the Crypt, and he wrote Patriot Games. I hope he gets some money from the Fast and the Furious franchise, at least as a tip, if nothing else, to be like, we did steal this from you. So yeah, here's a little tip.
Truly, truly, truly. So good. It's on Peacock right now. If anybody has Peacock.
For all of us, guys, 1991, Point Break, the best of the best.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So much fun.
On Peacock right now. Go rewatch it. Friends, do we want to spin the wheel generator now and then do our... we're still kind of nudging this format. Do we want to do the random wheel generator at the end to decide
Let's do that at the end. We'll do it at the end.
We'll do it at the end.
So let's do our quick round of what you've been watching, where we tell you what we've been watching, give you our recommendations of the week. Dave!
I didn't have much time this week, so my one bit of downtime I relied on something I knew was going to entertain me, and so I rewatched Deadpool 2, the Super Duper Cut.
Oh, it's so good.
The Super Duper Cut is awesome. It just has an extra 15 minutes in there. The opening sequence goes for a lot longer. Also, and if you do because I own it, I bought them on Apple. And this is the one other shitty thing with the not having physical media. If you play it on Apple, it takes you to a menu and you can select the Super Duper Cut. But if you try to play it on your Sony TV with Android or whatever, you can open the Apple TV app, but you can't get to the special screenings unless you go into the fucking Apple TV. So the Apple TV app you're missing out. You can't get to the extra shit they've given you.
Huh.
Oh no.
Fuck, John.
I saw. We went and saw a really fun live event at the Hollywood Bowl the other night. It's a screening of Nightmare Before Christmas.
What?
But Danny Elfman and the gang were there to sing the parts live.
What anniversary is that?
Get
Anniversary
out of here.
It's
30.
Yeah.
1993.
You're old
30
people.
years. So yeah, it was cool. It was fun. They were there. He was in a funny suit and stuff, dancing around on stage, playing Jack Skellington. That was cute. We also watched, I just finished, we have a bunch of like fun dailies from big Hollywood movies that we practice with and on our editing assignments. And we finished Gladiator recently. Elizabeth never seen Gladiator.
Oh, yeah.
So we watched it. Man,
in time for
it's so-
Napoleon.
I hadn't seen that. And I have been on a Ridley Scott. I've been listening to tons of interviews. I am super excited for Napoleon now.
Me too.
But Gladiator was a lovely rewatch. I hadn't seen that in several years. I've probably watched that multiple times a year throughout my adolescence.
I've watched it
Really
once in
fun,
my lifetime.
Really great.
Wow.
Once in your lifetime?
Yep.
Did you hate it?
It was okay.
Oh, come on. One of your countrymen is in that.
Dave, you're countryman.
Come on. So entertaining.
What did
So
you call me?
beautiful. Beautiful movie. All right.
For me,
What'd you call me?
the big one for me was, in choosing it. I think I drove Angela crazy spending I can go an hour choosing something and not lose any steam. So I watched 20 trailers, literally went through every single thing that's out there. And I was like,
Oh,
what's the
that's
one for us? But there's a little
It's about
tit-a-tat.
half of Angela.
Yeah, Jesus.
We got to get John's buzzer number up. Fuck you, John.
Sorry.
I just looked. That's only his second one. That's horseshit. Yeah, fuck that. That's horseshit. John has a lot of
I
homework
love this
tonight.
movie.
So Angela and I watched I forgot the name of it, so I had to look it up. The Last Thing He Told Me, which came out this past spring on Apple TV Plus, and this is Jennifer Garner, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jamie Lannister himself, Enjeri Rice, Dave, one of your country persons as well from Australia there, and then a couple shout outs to featured roles from Josh Hamilton, David Morse, and Victor Garber, aka the man who built the Titanic, or at least designed it. That's right. This is Apple TV Plus. It's based on a book. So this one and like the Brie Larson movie that's based on a book. I feel like they're just like trying to get, because obviously their strike it's happening. And I love sci-fi, but we wanted to watch this, and it's really, it's gripping. It's a great show to watch with someone else, because there's some stuff too where it's like
I love you to say I love sci-fi, but we wanted to watch this. Did you get overruled?
No, it's a tit-a-tat, Dave. It's a tit-a-tat. We came up, we were like, I want sci-fi, we want this, and all of a sudden we found our way to this show, and this is how it fucking works, Dave. And I'm really happy because, there's a couple of things, like they're trying to run away from people, and it's like they're fucking running in public, like scrambling and squilling their arms. And sometimes it's good to turn to somebody and be like, I don't think that's the best way to hide in a crowd. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's good to say stuff like that, but also still say like, I like the show. Oh, people are stalking their house and they go outside to have nice, intimate conversations where they're yelling all of the plot, knowing that people are in the vicinity. But still, like, it's tense. And I'm very curious to see what happens. So I'm one episode away from the end. The Last Thing He Told Me. Fuck you guys. Can't wait to talk about what we're going to do
Apple
next
TV.
week.
Did anybody ever watch that Idris Elba plane hijacking show on Apple TV? That was supposed to be really good.
Chris and
haven't
Andy
yet,
liked
no.
it, but Chris and Andy liked it but didn't love it. The reviewers I listened to.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. All right.
What
Random year
fucking
generator.
year
What are we
we
talking
doing?
about?
All right, let's find out.
Next week. Sound effect.
We're going forwards. 2008.
Oh, very
The
good.
Slumdog Millionaire year.
In 2008.
The Slumdog Millionaire year.
Milk, the wrestler.
Was this
Okay,
is
that's-
Thor? Was this Thor
I've never
year?
seen The Wrestler.
It's
The
Milk,
wrestler's good.
wrestler.
The wrestler's good. Milk won best screenplay. Sure. Sean
I've seen
Penn.
Milk.
Sean Penn beat Mickey Rourke. That's why you say that.
Dude, twist my arm. We can do Milk. Love that movie.
Milk's
That's
good.
fantastic.
Gus.
Stay tuned, folks. We will announce on the socials. But,
Yeah, it takes
a
us
lot of
4
good-
days to
good
fight
ones
this out.
this year. Is this The Reader? Is this the year of Kate Winslet?
The
coming
Reader.
in?
Oh my God! It might be because Hugh Jackman at the Oscars. The Reader. I did not see The Reader. Oh, Twilight came out
Is
this
that-
year. Iron Man. I thought it was Thor.
Oh,
It's
is
Iron
this-
Man. Iron Man came out this year.
Was 2009 when he hosted and he did that wonderful?
Yeah,
I'm
the
Oh, because of the recession.
Yeah, the
we
total
don't have
budget
a.
cut. Yeah.
Cloverfield,
Oh, that's so
Wall-E, Dark Knight, of course. We talked about the Dark Knight already a little bit.
Oh shit, Dark Knight.
All right, well, friends, you're gonna have to. Oh, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was number 2 at the box office. Wow. See if we
I
choose
think
that
anyone's
movie.
liver can take that.
Hancock,
Ouch.
Quantum of Solace, Chronicles of Narnia. No,
Tropic Thunder.
Chronicles of Gnarlier, dude.
4 Weddings and a Funeral. Oh, never mind. Forget I said that.
In Bruges.
In
the
fucking
right one,
Bruges. All right, guys, I can't wait to decide what movie we're gonna see. We're gonna talk about, but we're gonna let you go for now. We're gonna let you go.
Bye, folks.
We're still here.
See you later, film fans.